Alright, today I want to talk about the different types of costs and how they behave differently. Um, and you guys probably understand a lot about what we're going to talk about in this video, but you probably never had it formally defined for you, never had different types of costs formally defined. But you probably understand it just because you've dealt with costs in everyday life and you understand that they behave differently and probably made decisions based on cost behavior before. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take what you already know and we're going to just formally define it. And what you see in this chapter is that understanding cost behavior is really important in terms of making good decisions, in terms of making a company profitable. So let's get started. And what I want to talk about in this video is an example of you guys, that you guys can probably completely relate to, and that is going on a spring break to the beach. And how we are going to handle the cost that we're going to incur if we decide to take a trip to the beach for the spring break. So we're going to have a beach house. Let's say that the beach house costs us $1,200 a week. We only plan to get it for 1 week. So it is going to cost us $1,200 for the beach house no matter what. It doesn't matter if we go on the spring break by ourselves or if we invite all of our friends. It's going to be $1,200. And because no matter how many people are included in the beach trip, the cost is still $1,200. This is a fixed cost. So we're going to call this a fixed cost. And now it sounds really simple because people get confused with fixed cost a lot. Because when we are talking about fixed cost, we're talking about total cost. The total cost of a beach trip, no matter how many people come, will be $1,200 when it comes to the beach house, and that's why the cost is fixed. To see that more clearly, let's look at this table right here. Let's say that the number of friends that we invite, and let's look at the total cost, the per unit cost or per friend. Okay, if you want to go to the beach by ourselves, it would be basically one person, right? The total cost of this beach house is 1200. So the total cost would be 1200, and the per person, the per friend cost would also be $1,200 since it's just one person. If we decide to invite a friend, let's say, with us, we would have two people going to the beach. Well, then the total of the beach house is still 1200, but now we can divide that total cost by two because it's two people going and it's only 600 per friend. If we invite three people, the total cost is still $1,200, but it's now only $400 per friend. Four people, total cost is still $1,200, and now it's only 300 per friend, and you guys are getting the idea right now. If we invite five people and five people in this beach house, the total cost is $1,200 still, but it is only 240 a person. And if we decide to bring six people in this house, let's say, still the total cost of the trip is 1,200, and now although it's just $200 per person or per friend or per unit. So notice something here. We define this cost as fixed cost because the total cost is fixed. Notice that as we increase the activity or increase the number of friends, the total cost is 1,200. It doesn't matter how many people you invite. It is $1,200 the total cost. But notice that the fixed cost, as we increase the number of friends, the per unit cost is variable. So you can see as the number of friends is increased, the cost per friend decreases. So the fixed cost per unit is variable. The total fixed cost is fixed. So when we're talking about a fixed cost is fixed because the total cost is fixed. And you can see that in this graph over here, what I was talking about before, you can see that no matter how many friends we invite, we have the number of friends down here on the horizontal axis. It does not matter how many we invite, the total cost up here is $1,200. If we invite one friend, it is 1200, two friends, it is 1200, three, 1200 again, four, 1200, and so on. The fixed cost per unit decreases with the number of friends we invite. You can see that if we invite two friends, our fixed cost per unit is 600. If six people come to the beach, it's only $200 per person. So this is really important to understand. Fixed cost is based on the total cost. So this beach house is considered a fixed cost because the total cost does not vary. Alright, but there are other costs that we need to consider when we are going to the beach. For one, everyone's going to have to buy a plane ticket, right? So let's say that the plane tickets right now are selling for $200. So now this plane ticket is going to work differently than the beach house. This plane ticket is going to be defined as variable cost, and that's because the more people we invite on the trip, as the activity level increases, the number of people that come on our trip increases. The total cost will vary. It will also increase. So you can see that real clearly over here. Let's say the number of friends we invite, the total cost, and the total per unit or the cost per friend. We've noted all of these things down over here. Okay, if we invite just ourselves, just one person, the total cost is going to be $200. Per friend for us, it is also going to cost us $200. If we invite two people, the total cost is going to increase by 400. But per friend, each of us is only going to pay $200. We each are going to pay $200 for our plane ticket. If we invite three friends, the total cost is going to increase to $600. But still, per friend, it is only 200. If we invite four, the total cost will be 800, but again, per friend, it is still only 200. If five people come on the trip, the total cost is 1000, but per friend, it is still only 200. And if we bring six people on the trip, the total cost will be 1200, but per friend, it will still be 200. So notice we define this plane ticket as a variable cost because the total cost varies. You can see it right here. The total cost varies directly with the number of people that are coming on the trip, and that's why it is a variable cost. But if you look at the per friend cost or the per unit cost, it's fixed. So the variable cost on a per friend basis is fixed. It is exactly the same no matter how many people come. Per friend is $200. But the total cost varies, and we're defining it as a variable cost because the total cost varies. So just like with the fixed cost, we defined it as a fixed cost because the total cost was fixed. We're defining this cost as a variable cost because the total cost varies. And you can see that on this graph too. No matter how many friends we invite, 1 through 6, the variable cost per unit or the cost per friend right here is fixed. It is $200. It's the same thing I just showed you. But the total variable cost right here, it varies, okay? The total cost varies because if we invite more friends, we have to buy more plane tickets, so it's a variable cost because the total cost varies. So we define the cost as fixed or variable based on the total cost. That's the idea I'm trying to get across to you guys. It's based on the total cost. Alright then, one another type of cost that I want to talk to you about, and we're just going to be briefly talking about this. This one is called mixed cost, and a mixed cost is a cost that is going to have a fixed and a variable component. So let's say that while we're at the beach, where we get this beach house, we get our plane tickets, and then we decide to rent a boat. And let's say our boat, it rents for $200 plus $50 per person. Okay, so now you can clearly see that there is something like a mixed cost over here. It has a fixed and a variable component. No matter what and no matter how many people come, it costs us at least $200. That portion of the cost is fixed. But then every person that we add to the trip, it is an additional $50. So this is a mixed cost. So we have three types of costs that I want you guys to be comfortable with: fixed cost, variable cost, and mixed cost. I want you guys to remember we define cost as fixed or variable based on the total cost, not the per unit cost. Okay, so now that we got the formal definitions down, you guys understand what a fixed cost, a variable cost, and a mixed cost is, at least by their definition. And in the next two videos, we're going to look at how understanding cost behavior can really increase the profitability of the company.